Good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Nagaraju, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of CSCA and ML in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. So today I am here to explain you one of the topic related to reasoning, which is called as reasoning under uncertainty. So in the reasoning concepts, we should supposed to understand some of the topics. Means some kind of explanation is required in order to understand why this reasoning is more important, and in different ways, means in different ways like uncertainty and certainty, how this reasoning is going to be impacted while solving certain kind of problems. So during our session, in today's session, we are going to discuss about more on the reasoning under uncertainty. So what do you mean by uncertainty and what do you mean by certainty? We should supposed to know first of all. Then after we will come to know how this uncertainty and certainty is going to impact while providing the reasoning. So in simple words, if you talk in simple words, reasoning is nothing but some kind of explanation, but we are going to see more things about that in this session. But before that, let us try to see what are the topics we are going to study in this session. The first one is representing under representing under certainty. So here we are going to talk about the reasoning. So we can say that how we are going to represent the reasoning under uncertainty. That is the first topic we are going to study. Later on, we are going to concentrate on the monotonic and non-monotonic reasoning concepts. And later on, with suitable examples, we are going to discuss more clearly about the statistical reasoning. So in the statistical reasoning, we are going to see the three different kinds of things. One is the probability. Okay, we are going to talk about the probability, and we are going to talk about the conditional probability, and later on we are going to talk about Bayes theorem. So these are the three topics which we are going to cover under this statistical reasoning. So let us try to understand the concept of reasoning. So as I mentioned just now, reasoning is a certain kind of explanation which we provide while giving some kind of conclusion, we can say. So for example, if you see in the medical field, especially if the doctor says to the patient that you have been suffering from cancer, so simply the patient is not going to get convinced. I'm trying to repeat the thing once again. You see, we are going to talk about the concept of reasoning, and we are going to know, means we are trying to know why this reasoning is so important. So as I said, this is reasoning is certain kind of explanation, generally what we provide in order to we can say give some kind of belief to the given conclusion. For example, especially in the medical field, if the doctor is saying to the patient that he has been suffering from cancer, so the patient is not going to get convinced. So what happens in that case? The doctor has to give certain kind of explanation in order to say why, what are the main reasons that made that patient to attack with that cancer. So such kind of reasonings are more important. Even in the criminal histories also, the police people or the investigator directly cannot tell to a person that you have been committed a theft or you have been committed a crime. So until and unless the proper evidence is provided, no people is going to say that someone has committed some kind of crime. So that's why directly giving a conclusion does not work every time. So that's why what happens is reasoning is the most important thing which we are going to provide, which we need to provide in order to give we can say some kind of support to the given conclusion. Means directly, instead of directly giving the conclusion, so you can give some kind of explanatory evidence, we can say, or some documentary evidence telling that these are the main reasons that made patient to attack suffering from the cancer, or these are the evidences, or these are the supporting documents which are making a person to be committed to a crime. So such kind of explanations are definitely required. So that's why even when you are dealing with artificial intelligence kind of problems also, there you should supposed to provide reasoning in order to give some kind of strength to the given conclusion. So that's why reasoning plays a very, very important role. So we should supposed to understand why this reasoning is going to be impacted in two different scenarios. Why? Because giving of reasoning under certain condition will be different, and under uncertainty will be different. Of course, we are going to study in this session, we are going to study both the things. how the reasoning will be when it is certain, and how the reasonings will be in the uncertainty issues situations. So first of all, we need to understand what do you mean by this certain and what do you mean by this uncertain. So we will try to see more clearly about this certainty and uncertainty in two different scenarios. So the first scenario, we can say we will talk about the problem solving. We are trying to understand the concept of certainty and uncertainty in terms of problem solving. In problem solving, to be specific, if I say let us try to take some examples which are related to gameplay. Right, so we need to understand in the game playing which things are, which situations is treated as certain and which things are treated as uncertain. Right, let us try to talk about the first game, which is called as some 8 puzzle problem. So this is the most common problem which is suitable for most of the artificial intelligence topics. So I am taking this 8 puzzle problem. So if you observe this 8 puzzle problem, generally what happens, there will be 9 tiles will be there, and an empty tile, and the other 8 tiles includes with some number. So what we have to do is we need to rearrange those numbers in the given desired state. So what happens, in order to rearrange the positions of the numbers, we are going to make use of the empty tile. So in that case, what happens, there are 4 possible legal moves, we can say. Means in order to solve this 8 puzzle problem, there are some fixed number of legal actions. So those fixed number of legal actions means you can make the tile move towards the left side, or you can move towards the right side, or you can move top, or you can move down. Okay, that means that these are the 4 legal actions that are applicable to the 8 puzzle problem. Right. So in this case, what happens means whenever there is a particular state is given to you, so simply what happens, you can expect, means you can expect what is going to be the next state. You try to understand. I am repeating once again. In the 8 puzzle problem, some numbers are given to you in 8 different tiles, and an empty tile will be given. So by making use of that empty tile, you should suppose to rearrange the numbers in such a way that has been given in the desired state. So during that state, means in order to rearrange, there are 4 legal moves, like left, means you can move the empty tile towards left, right, top and bottom. So in this case, what happens easily, means it will be very easy for us in order to identify what will be the next state we are going to get. Means, for example, if we move the empty tile towards left or right or top or bottom, what will be the next position? Means in this case, what happens here, while solving this 8 puzzle problem, moving from the given state to the desired state, simply each and every state you can predict. Each and every state you can predict, means what is going to be the next state, that easily you can predict. Why? Because there are only some limited number of legal actions are there. By these legal actions, we can easily do the prediction. So in this case, what we can do is by using the concept of control techniques, what we can say is simply we can keep some sequence of these moves. We can keep the sequence of these moves. So whenever we find that one of the move what we have taken is not making us to move towards the desired state, simply you can apply the backtracking. You can apply the backtracking and you can come back. So in that case, so I don't want to prolong this example more. Why? Because we need to get only this particular word, that is predict. Means in 8 puzzle problem, as there are fixed number of legal moves you can do, so easily you can predict what is going to be the next state. Okay, means whenever you try to move a empty tile to a particular direction, what will be the next arrangement of numbers you are going to get, that easily we can predict. So that means that we are solving the 8 puzzle problem by predicting the future. So in that case, we can say that whatever the knowledge we are having or whatever the problem we are dealing with is certain. Okay, so the situation is completely certain, right? Why? Because we are able to predict what is going to be the next state to come. But when it comes to the other example, for example, if you talk about the chess playing game, so in the chess playing game, it will be somewhat difficult in order to identify what will be the next step. Means what step is we are going to get, that is very difficult to predict. Why? Because completely depends upon the other player's moves. Right? Even if you are playing some kind of a cards game, right? In that card games also it will be very difficult. Again, why? Because the card which is going to throw by the other player, that completely depends. Okay, so which card he is going to throw, that we cannot predict. So what happens in these two cases, we can say that we are dealing with the problem of uncertainty. We are dealing the problem of uncertainty. Why? Because we cannot predict what is going to come next. But in the 8 puzzle problem, it is not the case. Why? So that's why we can say that the problem we are going to deal here is completely certain. So here, what do you mean by here representing of reasoning under certainty means? Under certainty means these kind of explanations. Means the additional evidence, or we can say the changing the degree of belief, we can say. Means increasing the degree of belief in order to strengthen the conclusion, we can say. If such kind of explanation is given, then we can say that it is a reasoning and under certainty. But some what happens is in the real time cases, right? Especially when we talk about the real time cases, it will be very difficult to predict. Means most of the artificial intelligence problems, whenever we are trying to solve, we cannot able to predict what is going to come in the next state. So in this case, what happens every time we are moving in the uncertainty state only. So even if such kind of uncertainty states are also there, then how we need to give reasoning, how we need to provide the reasoning. So that is the main motto of our today's topic. Means we are going to discuss here that providing of reasoning or giving certain kind of new inferences whenever there is an uncertainty arised. Okay, so let us try to observe what is uncertainty more clearly by taking some examples. So we can say we should suppose to require some kind of techniques for reasoning. Some additional techniques are required for reasoning, that is with a complete, consistent and unchanging model of the world. So what is the conditions we are telling? There should be certain kind of technique which can provide reasoning to us. Okay, which can provide the reasoning to us where we are talking about a specific world which is complete. Which is complete in the sense the knowledge base is having the knowledge, a complete set of knowledge, we can say. So that should be there, and it should be consistent, and it should not be unchanging. Means if you are trying to develop a model, right, in order to provide or in order to describe in order to implement the techniques for providing the reasoning, then your model should have your model should be developed complete, consistent and unchanging. But what happens in the real time cases, it will not be like that. Why? Because most of the domains which are related to artificial intelligence, or otherwise we can say the problems which we are dealing with by implementing the artificial intelligence completely, they are changing. Means the worlds what we are going to deal while solving the problems in artificial intelligence, they are not consistent, they are not complete, and every time they will keep on changing. So as this is the situation is there, so it is our primary responsibility in order to give certain kind of explanation how to overcome or how to deal with this uncertainty problem. So there is a specific book which is called as Web of Belief, that has been written by Kaini and Olian in the year 1978. So this book has given a very good explanation, we can say very good or a very excellent explanation talking about the techniques under uncertainty. So what are the different types of techniques that are available in order to handle the problem of uncertainty? So the techniques means the techniques what we discussed in this particular book by the author, the techniques are helpful to us in order to reason efficiently even when the world is complete, when the world is not complete, even we can say when the world is not complete and the world is not consistent and the world is not constant, means it's keep on changing. And even we can see in artificial intelligence, we cannot say every time the knowledge base is having a constant knowledge. It is going to have constant knowledge. Why? Because it is going to be a continuous process to update the knowledge that present in the knowledge base. That means that here the knowledge base knowledge is completely we cannot say it is consistent. Why? Because it is always going to change. So let us try to understand more clearly. So one important point we are going to talk about here is non-monotonic reasoning. Okay, so non-monotonic reasoning. So what do you mean by this monotonic reasoning and non-monotonic reasoning? We will try to understand this. Means in the reasoning under uncertainty, we are going to talk about three important things. One is monotonic certainty, or otherwise we can say monotonic reasoning. The second one is non-monotonic reasoning, and the third one we are going to talk is statistical reasoning. So let us try to understand the first concept, which is called as non-monotonic reasoning. So there is a very good example that has given in the prescribed textbook written by Ellen Rich. In that textbook, an example is given that is ABC murder story. So a murder story is given to us, and we are going to see how the situations is going to change regularly. Means how this uncertainty is going to impact in order to support the belief given to a particular conclusion. Means this story is going to explain us how whenever we are adding new knowledge to the existing knowledge base, and how it is going to reflect on the conclusion. Means what happens, initially the conclusion will be something. After keep on adding some kind of knowledge, or after doing the modifications in the knowledge base, how the conclusion is going to change. So that we are going to learn more clearly with this example called as ABC murder story. So what happened, there is a murder has been occurred. Murder event has been occurred. So what happened, the policemen are suspecting three people. One is called as Abbott, second one is Babat, and the third one is Cabot. So these are the three people who are suspects. They are called as suspects in this particular murder story. So we need to understand how the things are going to change while scenarios are changing. So initially what happens, the policemen are going to interact with these three people. So the main responsibility of these people is they have to give correct information. They should not supposed to lie. They have to give correct information or correct knowledge, we can say, so that the policemen get convinced and they will be released from this murder case. Right? Or otherwise, the police should be in a stage to collect the evidence. They have to collect the evidences in order to prove or in order to disprove that either Abbott or Cabot has committed the crime. So we will try to understand what is the first information that is available with us. Means what the Abbott is going to tell and what the Abbott and Cabot is going to tell, means in order to convince the policemen that they have not committed the crime. Okay. So if we talk about the Abbott is saying that during that particular time he has been available in a particular hotel, and the entry of his name is registered is marked in the hotel register. So that is a kind of information given by the Abbott. Okay. At the same time, if we talk about the Abbott is saying that during that time, means during the time of murder, he has been with his brother-in-law. At a different location, we can say at Brooklyn. He is at that time he is with his brother-in-law at that particular place. This is the information given by the Abbott. Similar to that one, Cabot. If you talk about the Cabot is telling that, sir, on that particular time, at that particular time, he is watching a sky meet. It is a kind of game, right? He's watching the sky meet. So these are the three informations given by three different people. So in this case, means if you consider only these three informations, means the informations given by these three people, simply we can come to a conclusion. So what is that conclusion? Means neither Abbott, Babat or Cabot has committed the crime. So initially what happened, this became, we can say none of the people has committed the crime. But what happens, means is it going to be the true information? Means is it going to be the situation? Means are they going to are they telling the correct information, or they are lying? So that completely depends upon the other factors. So that means that these informations given by these people may be true at one particular point and may not be true. So we should supposed to understand, see, as it is may be true or may not be true, that means that we are in the uncertainty. There is a uncertainty here. We cannot give the conclusion. We cannot give strength to the belief which has given the conclusion. So in that case, what happens? We should supposed to observe the some other things also. So what is that? We need to understand more clearly that initially we said that Abbott or Babat or Cabot has committed the crime. Okay, but we need to verify these documents. I mean, the policeman has to verify these documents. Then presently, the Cabot has given certain kind of document, we can say. What is that, some kind of document? Means especially he said that he is watching some game in some other place. So the good luck that present with Cabot is he is watching that game and he has been caught in the television. he has been caught in the television. So this is the additional information what we got. Okay, so in this case what happens, we can simply say that the Kabat has not committed the crime. Okay, the Kabat has not committed the crime. Similar to that one, we should suppose to observe even the beliefs of these two people also, means the evidences of these people also. So we will try to see these things. So which has the weakest evidence? Means the evidence is given by Abbott and Babat and Kabat also. So we are not giving the conclusion directly that Kabat has not committed the crime because he has been recorded in the television, came television. Okay, so directly we cannot give conclusion. That's why we are trying to see the weakest points, means what are the weakest points that are available. If we talk about the first one, means Abbott, if we talk about the Abbott, what the Abbott has told, his name has been entered in the register of the hotel. So if that hotel is a repeated hotel, and simply we can believe that the entry of the Abbott is true. Okay, so that is the first thing that is available with the first evidence. And coming to the second evidence, so here what the second evidence is, the Abbott is telling that he is available, he is with his brother-in-law in Brooklyn. So in this case what happens, some uncertainty is there. So what is that uncertainty? Maybe the brother-in-law is lying. Because he want to escape, make Babat to escape from this situation. That's why he may be lying in that case. So this is the weakest point of evidence, we can say. Coming to the third one, here we are having two possibilities. What is that two possibilities means? Some other, the fourth situation also may be there in between. What is that? Maybe some kind of robbery has been occurred. Okay, so we can say this is some kind of theft. Okay, some kind of theft has been happened. And these three people want to take the advantage of this murder case, and they want to come out from this theft. That chance is also there. Okay, so whenever we keep on trying to collect more evidences, whatever the earlier conclusion was there, that conclusion is going to be changed repeatedly. So this kind of situations, we say generally it has a problem of uncertainty. So we should suppose to identify certain kinds of techniques which can give reasoning even in the uncertainty situations also. So seems to be given the conclusion. So how can we give the conclusions? So the fourth one means the fourth point, Kabat has been recorded in the television. So with this evidence, simply we can what we can do is we can give the conclusion of 4. Means we can give conclusion to Kabat telling that he is not committed the crime. But when it comes to the second and third point, still there is some weakness. That is, maybe the Babat has giving some, he's telling lie, his brother-in-law is telling lie. Okay, so to resolve the inconsistencies of this 1 and 4, we should suppose to reject these 2. Means in order to give the strengthen to first and 4, what is the first evidence? That is, the name of the Abbott has been registered in the hotel, and which is the reputed hotel. So simply with that point, we are convincing that the Abbott has given the correct information. Okay, and at the time, at the other time, so Kabat has been recorded in the television while watching the Sky Meet. So simply even we can also give some kind of support. We can increase the degree of belief to the first evidence and the fourth evidence. But when we are increasing the degree of belief for these two, simply that means that we are rejecting the second and the third evidence. Okay, so in these situations, we can simply say that how the things are going to change. In the earlier case, means when we have initially got some kind of information, with that information we can simply say that none of the people has committed the crime. But when we keep on observing the other situations, means other possibilities, then what happened earlier, which was means earlier Babat has not committed the crime. That this conclusion we have given. But at this particular state, after getting this information that his brother-in-law may be lying, in that case what happened? Again the conclusion has changed. Means earlier case, the Babat has not committed the crime. This is the conclusion we have given. But now what we are telling, that maybe Abbott is telling lie. Okay, means whatever the evidence given by Babat is not true. Okay, so the overall means if we discuss about the overall concept of this ABC murder story, then we can say that there are some kind of problems that are going to posed in this kind of situations, uncertainty situations. So one is that uncertainty. We are going to fuzzy. We are going to see some fuzzy kind of problems also. and also we are going to see often changing knowledge. That's why initially I have discussed this point. That is, the knowledge that present in the knowledge base is not going to be consistent. Is not going to be fixed. Means it is not going to be stable, right? Regularly, it is going to be keep on changing continuously. So in this case, what happens? These are the three different kinds of problems generally we are going to arise. So we should suppose to get some kind of solution in order to overcome, means in order to give even reasoning in the uncertainty kind of situations also. So for that one, there are different kinds of logical frameworks and computational methods have been proposed by different people. So those things are nothing but one is the non-monotonic reasoning and another one is the statistical reasoning. So we can say that these are the two important techniques or otherwise two logical frameworks through which we can handle the problem of uncertainty while giving reasoning. So we will try to clearly see what is non-monotonic reasoning and statistical reasoning with some kind of examples. So if I talk about non-monotonic reasoning, so what happens? It is nothing but some kind of, we can say it is some set of rules, or we can say some set of axioms about the inferences which we are extending in order to make it possible to reason with incomplete information. So what happens when there is an incomplete information? Means if your knowledge is not sufficient, then we are going to give different kinds of conclusion. So that conclusion may be positive, that can be maybe negative. Means if the Babat has not committed the crime, but still if we are having insufficient information, then we may prove that Babat has committed the crime. So that kind of situations may arise. That's why we should suppose to increase the quantity of the knowledge. Okay, so that's why in the non-monotonic reasoning, we are going to see what are the possibilities that are going to reason with the incomplete information. So our primary duty is while using non-monotonic reasoning is we should suppose to add new information to the existing knowledge base. So that information will be in the form of axioms, or we can say in the form of rule of inferences. So means what is the advantage we are going to get with this? Means these systems are going to preserve the property that is nothing but either we can say it has been believed to be true. Means whatever the evidence that has given or that we have observed, it can be either true or it can be either false, or it cannot be either both. So we will get to certain kind of conclusion. Means earlier case it may be true, after adding some kind of information it may be false. So what happened? These systems are going to preserve this property. What is that? Either sometimes the additional information may be believed to be true, or it may be believed to be false, or it may be either of the case. Okay, coming to the statistical reasoning. So we can say that statistical reasoning is somewhat better than the non-monotonic reasonings, we can say. So why it is like that? Means in the non-monotonic reasoning, it is going to tell either the information is true or the information is false. The information is true or the information is false. For example, you take, right, by observing some kind of symptoms in the patient, the doctor may say that you are suffering from viral fever. Okay, means if it is the non-monotonic reasoning, generally what happens? The reasoning we are giving is, right, due to this temperature, okay, due to this kind of symptoms, we can say that the patient is suffering from some kind of viral fever. That's it. Means suffering or not suffering, true or false. But always these kind of explanations or these kind of conclusions will not work. That's why what should be there is there should be some statistical reasoning. So if the patient is suffering from the viral fever, so how much percentage you are so much means how much sure you are telling about that. Okay, means we can say that we should suppose to give some numerical values as a strength to the conclusion given. So if I say that simply the patient is suffering from the viral fever, it will not work. In some cases it will not work, especially in the medical field it will not work. So in that case what happens? You should suppose to give some numerical value in order to strengthen the belief or in order to strengthen the given conclusion. So I can say that we can simply say that like this. Means by seeing the patient's symptoms and by seeing the temperature of the patient, we can say that there is a possibility of 80% that the patient is suffering from viral fever. So otherwise we can say that these symptoms are not related to viral fever, then I am giving only there is only 20% of chance to the patient that he may suffer, he may be suffering from the viral fever. So these kind of representation should be given in the medical industries, especially when it is medical diagnosis like that. So in order to provide these kind of numerical representations, it will not work with non-monotonic reasoning. Why? Because it is going to concentrate only on true and false. Okay, so we are going to get some additional benefit while using these statistical representations in the reasoning. Okay, so what is that? Instead of simply telling true or false, we are going to be associated. Means each and every evidence we are going to give it with a probabilistic value. So what is the probability of a patient being suffering from the viral fever? So I can say that 80%. If I say 80%, that means that 80% of the chances are there that the patient may be suffering from the viral fever. So for each and every evidence given, or each and every evidence we have observed, we are going to calculate the probability. We are going to calculate the probability of this or probability of the other. Okay, based upon the evidences given. So these probabilities results will be some kind of numerical values, we can say. Okay, so these numerical values are giving certain kind of reasoning, right? So that we can give direct support to the conclusion. Okay. Talking about the conventional reasoning also. So we can say that in conventional reasoning systems, especially, we are going to follow this one, the first order predicate logic. Means whatever the knowledge we are having, that knowledge we are going to represent in the form of predicate logic, right? If the propositional logic is suitable to the given problem, then we can apply the propositional logic. Otherwise, we can go for the first order predicate logic. Means especially in conventional reasoning systems, we are going to follow this first order predicate logic only. So whenever you want to implement these conventional reasoning systems, the situation should follow these three important properties. Okay, so what is the first important property? It is complete with respect to the domain of interest. So in simple words, if we can say that all the facts that are necessary to solve the problem are present in the system or can be derived from those that are by the conventional rules of first order logic. So what does it mean? Means here we are telling that a particular world should be complete. Means whatever the facts that are available to that particular world should be complete. If it is not complete or consistent or constant, then we should suppose to make the derivation. We should suppose to derive. Okay, means whenever the knowledge related to particular world, if you believe that it is not suitable, right, it is not sufficient. Means whatever it is already presented is not sufficient, then you should suppose to implement the derivation. Means you should suppose to derive the new knowledge by the help of these conventional rules using first order predicate logic. And coming to the second one is it should be consistent. The system should be completely consistent, right? Consistency in the sense it should be stable. So, and the third one is the only way it can change is by adding the new facts. Just now we said. So whatever the information or the knowledge that is already available, if you feel that that knowledge is not suitable enough, though you should suppose to keep on adding the new facts. If these new facts are consistent with all the other facts that are already been accepted. So what does it mean? So this is the important point. Let us think that there is some kind of statement is there in the earlier case, means before adding these new facts, this statement has proved to be true. Okay, statement S1 think that S1 has been proved true, and at the same time S2 has been also proved to be false. Let us think that proved to be false. Means these are all already the proven one. So what happens in the third step? You are adding the new facts. So whenever you are adding the new facts, again these new facts should not make, means if the newly added facts are telling that again this one S1 is true only and S2 is false only, then that means that there is no change in the existing conclusions. There is no change in the previous conclusions. Okay, so if it is the case, means whenever you are adding new states and if that states are not making the already given conclusions different or not changing the given conclusions, then we can say that that property is the monotonicity. It is called as monotonicity. But what happened in the non-monotonic reasoning, especially in the ABC murder story situation, we have seen that earlier it has been proved to be true, means the people has not committed the crime. Okay, not committed the crime, but when we keep on adding the new evidences, keep on collecting the new evidences, the situation has changed. Okay, so it should not be like that. So in that case, we can say that it is non-monotonic. But here what we are telling, whenever we are adding the new information or new facts to the existing knowledge, so whatever which are already proven to be true and proven to be false, they need to be like that only. Means whenever you add new information, this true conclusion should not become false and this false conclusion should not become true. So if it is changing like this, then the situation we call it as non-monotonic. But if it is not like that, then we say that it is monotonic. Unfortunately, what happens if any of these properties is not satisfied? Means whatever the 4 properties we have discussed so far, if they are not satisfying to that particular situation, then we say that these conventional systems are not working. These conventional systems are not working. So we should suppose to go for the other kind of technique which is called as non-monotonic reasoning systems, which are going to handle even the non-monotonic reasoning, means non-monotonic situations. So what do you mean by this non-monotonic reasoning? So in order to say this, we should suppose to address the key different issues we can say. So what is that? The first one is, how can the knowledge base is extended to allow inferences to be made on the basis of lack of knowledge as well as on the presence of it. Means it is going to tell, means whatever the knowledge is insufficient if you believe, then how we need to add, means how we are going to extend, how we are going to expand the existing knowledge base by allowing the new inferences. So for this question, definitely there should be an answer. And the other question is, how can the knowledge base be updated properly when a new fact is added to the system? So how we need to update, how we need to modify the knowledge base? Why? Because here 2 things may arise. What is that? You may add new information to the existing knowledge base, or otherwise if you feel that the knowledge already available is not sufficient or not related to your problem domain, then simply you can remove that knowledge from the knowledge base. So in this case, if I say that if you are doing some kind of modifications to the knowledge base, that means that either you are doing some kind of addition or you are doing some kind of removal. So in these 2 situations, in these 2 changes, how we need to update the knowledge base properly? Okay, means is there any specific approach or is there any technique in order to update the knowledge base so properly? So for that one also we should suppose to get the answer. Okay, so and the third one, how can knowledge be used to help or resolve conflicts? This is also very, very important. How we are going to resolve the conflicts when there are several consistent non-monotonic inferences could be drawn. Means if there are different possibilities for the same situation, so how we are going to resolve the conflict? Okay, so that for that question also you should suppose to get the answers. Okay, means before implementing this non-monotonic reasonings, or otherwise we can say we are going to address the 3 different questions like allowing the inferences, updating the knowledge base properly and resolving the conflicts. We can say that we are going to make use of this non-monotonic reasoning systems. Okay, so let us try to understand the other reasoning which is called as the statistical reasoning. So in this we are going to talk about the probability and the Bayes theorem especially. So an important goal for many problem solving systems is to collect the evidences. That's what every time we are telling, even in the knowledge representation situation explanation also we have discussed this particular point. That is, having just a small quantity of knowledge will not make us to prove something or to disprove something. We should suppose to have the sufficient quantity of knowledge. Means you should suppose to gather more evidences. You should suppose to collect more knowledges. So generally how we do, we discussed in the expert systems that every time the developers has to interact with the expert systems to collect the more information about the problem, specific domain. So whatever the information they have collected, those informations need to be added to the knowledge base repeatedly. So that's why updating of knowledge base is not a one-time task. It is a repeated task. So in this case, what happens? We should suppose to collect, means how much evidences you collect that much strength you are going to give to your conclusion. Reasoning itself is nothing but giving some kind of conclusion to a particular situation. So if you want to give a conclusion, or if you want to give more strength to your conclusion, then you should suppose to have more knowledge. So how that more knowledge will be obtained means by collecting the evidences. More evidences you collect, that much perfect you can give the conclusion. Okay, so this is because we can say that the system goes along and to modify its behavior on the basis of evidence. This is also important. Why? Because in the same situation, that is ABC murder story, initially when we got some evidences, when we collected the evidences from A, B and C, it has been concluded, means we have given certain kind of conclusion that either A, B or C has committed the crime. But when we keep on adding, or when we keep on collecting the new information, it became different. Means B may be the one of the criminal. Okay, so the situations has been changed. That's why you should suppose to every time do the modification. Why? Because the updating of new information is going to modify the behavior of the system based upon the evidences. So in order to model this behavior, means how the behavior is changing, that modeling is doing by the very specific theory called as statistical theory. So in the statistical theory, which is called as Bayesian Statistics, we are going to make use in order to identify this kind of situations, means in order to model the behaviors, means how the behaviors are changing when new evidences are adding to the knowledge base. So let us try to observe, see some basic concepts about this probability, and we will try to see clearly more clearly about this Bayesian theorem with some example. So coming to the probability. So if I talk about the probability, there will be one kind of experiments we can perform, which is called as random experiment, or otherwise we can say that one is a probabilistic experiment. So what do you mean by this probabilistic experiment? So an experiment, we can say, which is repeated under identical conditions. Means in the similar kind of conditions, whenever you are repeating the experiment again and again, it is going to produce same outcome. It is going to produce the same outcome. So what does it mean? Means, sorry, it does not provide the same outcome. Okay, it does not provide the same outcome. For example, think that there is some specific value P, means you are by using some experiment, by doing some experimentations, you are calculating the value of P. So if you fix it that the value of P should be in between 1 and 0, sorry, 0 and 1. So what happens? You are doing the experimentations. At one state, you got the value of 0.5, 0.25, 0.76 like this. Means whenever you are repeating the experiment in the identical conditions, we are getting three different values. But even if they are coming, if they are different values, but still they are under the range only. They are under the range only. So in this particular case, we can say that this kind of experimentations is nothing but the random experiment, or otherwise we can say it as a probabilistic experiment. Okay, so the results in different outcomes when repeated in the same exact manner, the results are going to be different. Okay, but still they are under our range only. It has more than one possible outcome, and it is not possible to predict the outcome in advance. Means we cannot say, means what is going to come. For example, if you toss a coin, we cannot predict whether a head is going to come or the tail is going to come. But only what we can do is, by using this probability, we can add some degree of belief. We can say, we can give some degree of belief saying that the probability of getting tail is this much and probability of getting head is this much. Like this we can say, but we cannot exactly predict in advance that tail is going to come or the head is going to come. Okay, as it is statistical reasoning, simply we are not going to tell yes or no, whether it come or not come, yes or no. It will be not like that. We are going to give some numerical value as a probabilistic value. Okay, so we will see some examples how this probability will works in general. Okay, the sample space is a collection of all the possible outcomes of an experiment. For example, if you see throwing of a die, so what happens? We know that there will be 6 sides of the die, and 6 sides is going to have the numerical values 1 to 6. Means whenever you toss a die, what happens? Your possibility will be either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. Means whatever the outcome. For example, if for the first time the die, the number you got is maybe 2. In the second time it may be 5. In the third time it may be 1. even though the outcomes are different, but still they are under the range. Okay, so then simply we say that this kind of experiment is a random experiment. So an event is an outcome of the random experiment. Yes, it is true. Why? Because it is under the range only, means the outcomes whatever we are getting is our expected values only. Okay, getting a head when you're tossing a coin is also an event. So what is an event here? Means what does it means? Means whenever a particular event has been occurred. So what is that event? It can be tossing of a coin, or it can be throwing of a die. So in these cases, what is the possible outcome? Means what outcome you are going to get. So that information is going to give by this concept called as probability. Coming to this one, we will talk about the multiplication rule. So when two events are independent, whenever we say that we are, let us think that we are dealing with two different kinds of events, and those two different events are independent to each other. Okay, so in that case, what happens? We can say that the probability of A and B will be probability of A into probability of B. Okay, let us try to see some example. If you see here, if a coin is tossed twice, find the probability of getting two heads. Okay, whenever a coin is tossed, so we need to find out the probability of getting two heads. So what happens? Probability of getting a single head will be represented as probability of H. But we are talking about the two heads now. So in that case, we should suppose to calculate the probability of H and the probability of H. Two heads. So in this case, we can say that it is probability of H into probability of H. So what happens? It will become 0.5 and 0.5. Why it is 0.5 means when we are tossing a coin, only two possible outcomes will come. So one is either it can be head or it can be tail. So as it is two possibilities, and if we see the whole possibilities has 100%, right? So for this one it will be 50% chances, and for this tail also 50% chances. So we are representing that 50% as 0.5. So there is 0.5% chances or 50% chances to get a head. Similar to that one, as we are looking for two heads, there are two 0.5s. So what is the probability of getting two heads? Means 0.25 chances are there. Okay, so that is one of the example. We will take the another example. So what is that? A coin is flipped and a die is rolled. So we need to find out the probability of getting a head on the coin and a 4 on the die. Okay, so what happens in this? One is we are looking for the head. What is the probability of getting the head? And the other one is we are looking the probability of getting 4. So what does it mean? It means that two are independent to each other. Tossing a coin is different and throwing of a die is different. But together we are trying to do it. Why we are doing together? Why? Because these two are completely independent. They are completely independent. In this case, what we have to do? We should suppose to calculate the probability of H, and we need to product it with the probability of getting 4. So just now we have seen that the probability of getting head is 0.5 and probability of getting 4 is 0.16. Why? Because there are 6 possible outcomes. So the probability of getting 4 will be only 0.616. So in this case, what happened? The overall probability will be 0.80. That means that the probability of getting the head and getting 4 is of 0.80%. Means you can say that some 80% of chances are there. Okay, so what happens if the two events are dependent? In the earlier case, tossing of a die and tossing a coin and throwing a die is completely independent. Those two events are completely different. But what happens if the events are completely dependent? So what happens? The probability of both we can represent with this mathematical equation, that is probability of A and B will be represented with probability of A into probability of B by A, or B given A. So we will take the example and we will see how these probabilities will be calculated. So 3 cards are drawn from a desk and not replaced. So we are telling to find out the probability of getting 3 jacks. So what is that? 3 cards are drawn from a desk and not replaced. We have not replaced any of the card, and we are asking to find out the probability of getting 3 jacks. So the first one, the probability of getting a jack out of 52 cards. Why? Because there will be 52 cards. In this, how many jacks will be there? There are 4 jacks. So the probability of getting a jack, that means that 1 among the 4. So it will be 4 by 52. Why? Because in this 52 there will be 4 jacks. So the probability, in order to calculate the probability, it will be 4 divided by 52. Similar to that one, later on, means if you talk about the second jack, so here we are talking about the first jack. That's why the total number of cards are 52 and the probability, the total number of jacks will be 4. But what happened? One jack we have removed here. So the number of jacks are, the number of cards are going to be decreased. That will becomes 51. And here also the jack is going to, the number of jacks are also going to reduce. It will becomes 3. So first it will, what happens? First it will be 3 by 51. Then later on in the next case, why? Because 3 cards, we are talking about 3 cards now. So at the initial state it is 4 divided by 52. Then after it is 3 by 51. Later on it will becomes 2 by 50. It will be like this. So you try to discuss this one with the values. So probability of getting a jack and jack and jack. So in the initial state it will be 0.76. Why? Because there are 52 cards. In that 52 cards, 4 jacks are there. So in the next state, what happened? Only 51 cards are there. That's why the probability is decreased. In the next case, there are only 51 jacks. Okay, it is 52, 51 and 50. Okay, so at the end, the probability of getting jack and jack and jack is just 0.00176. Okay, let us talk about the Bayesian statistics. So the fundamental notation of Bayesian statistics is that it should supposed to implement the conditional probability. So the conditional probability of a given A. So this is nothing the mathematical representation, that is probability of A by B. So how this can be read means, for a given B, probability of A means we should supposed to calculate the probability of A for a given B. So what does it mean? If I simply say that it is a probability of A, that means that there is no specific condition here. There is no specific condition. Directly you can calculate what is the probability with the given information. But what happened here? Already some event has been occurred. What is that event? B is the event which is already occurred. So by taking the evidence or by taking the support of this B, occurred B, we should supposed to calculate the probability of A. This is nothing but implementing some kind of conditional probability. So to calculate means, before Bayes theorem, we should supposed to concentrate on the calculation of the conditional probability. So how conditional probability can be calculated? So in this case, we can say P of A for the given B is represented as P of A and B by P of B. Okay, similar to that one, the Bayes theorem also. Alright, so until and unless you understand what is this conditional probability and how this conditional probability can be calculated, then you should not supposed to get how this Bayes theorem will be applicable. Okay, so let us try to see this one. So probability, already we have discussed that it is defined as a chance that an uncertain event will occur. So it is a numerical measure of likelihood that an event will occur. Means we are going to tell how much chances, how much percentage of chances are there to occur a specific event. Okay, so we use probability in probabilistic reasoning because it provides a way to handle the uncertainty. Simply telling true and false, it is going to have some kind of uncertainty still. So in order to improvise, means in order to make this uncertainty to certain, we are adding some numerical values by this probabilistic reasoning, or we can say some statistical reasoning. Okay, so these are the things. So if I simply say that probability of A, that means that for a given event A, the probability is represented as P of A. So the P of A are ranging some values that is in between 0 and 1. So whenever I say it is probability of A is simply 0, that means that it is completely uncertain. It is completely uncertain. So whenever I say it is probability of 1, then I can say that it is going to represent that complete certainty in a given event. Okay. So Bayes theorem also. Just now I mentioned that until and unless you know what is this conditional probability, you should not understand how this Bayes theorem will work. So let us try to identify these things. This terminology I will explain you right now. We will try to see some kind of example. This is an example given in the textbook. That is, patient has having some kind of spots, and patient has measles, and patient has high fever. So these are the evidences we have collected from a particular situation, and by using these evidences, you should supposed to know what is the probability value of making this patient to suffer from some kind of high fever. Means we should supposed to identify what are the reasons that made a patient suffering from the high fever. Okay, right? So we will try to understand these things with a simple example. First, we will talk about the conditional probability. So just now we told that the conditional probability means calculating the probability of A for the given B. Okay, if it is simply P of A, that means that it is the probability of A. But here it is the conditional probability. Conditional probability means already for a given B, means B event has already been occurred, or B evidence is given. With that B evidence, you should supposed to calculate the probability of A. So how it will be? We can simply say that probability of A intersection B by probability of B. So this is a mathematical equation given. Okay, let us try to understand how this is implemented. Let us try to take one Venn diagram. Okay, I am going to explain you this with the help of some Venn diagram. So this is a given world. In this given world, two events are there. One event is A and another event is B. So the chances for this A is from some 40%, and for this one is 20%, and for B is 30%. So this one is the A intersection B. So we should supposed to calculate the conditional probability. Means already for a given B, we should supposed to calculate the probability of A, how it will be. So if it is the case, so first of all you should supposed to calculate the probability of A intersection B, and then after you should supposed to calculate the probability of B. So probability of B is already given, which is 30. Okay, 30 by among the given samples. So how many samples are there? So before calculating, what happens if I say this, consider the entire world, that means that it is 100%. So what happens, the probability of B will be 30 by 100. Similar to that one, A intersection B is also given in the Venn diagram, that is 20. Okay, 20 by, again it will be 100. So this will become 0.2, and this is going to be 0.3. So whenever you got this probability of A intersection B and probability of B, simply if you substitute these values in this equation, you will get the conditional probability of A for a given B. So this slash need to be studied as a given. Okay, so how it will be, the probability of A for a given B will be 0.2 by 0.3. So it will be some 0.67. Okay, like this you should supposed to understand how this conditional probability will be implemented. So why I have taken this example means you should supposed to understand how this conditional probability is implemented. Why? Because this knowledge will be very much helpful in order to understand what is this Bayes theorem. Okay, so let us talk about this Bayes theorem. So Bayes theorem also completely depends upon the conditional probability only. So I can say like this, probability of A for a given B, this will be like this, probability of B for a given A into probability of A by probability of B. So this is a mathematical equation, but we should supposed to understand how this equation has been derived. Okay, so let us try to understand. Whenever I say it is a probability of A, conditional probability of A for a given B, it is according to this conditional probability we represented as P of A intersection B by P of B. Similar to that one, if I say that probability of B for a given A, then it will becomes the probability of B intersection A by probability of A. Okay, probability of A. So what I am doing here is this one I am representing like this. How probability of A intersection B equal to probability of A for a given B into probability of B. Similarly, this also we can represent. Okay, this also we can represent like this, probability of B intersection A equal to probability of B for a given A into probability of A. Okay, so it will be like this. So with the help of these two equations, directly we can represent like this, probability of A intersection B equal to this entire thing, that is probability of B by A dot probability of A divided by probability of B. Okay, so like this we can derive the equation for the Bayesian theorem, Bayes theorem, based upon the conditional probability, based on the conditional probability. So this is all about the today's session, and whatever the content I have mentioned in the slides, it has been taken from the prescribed textbook that I have mentioned as a reference. Okay, thank you very much.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.